Hi, this is Michelle Green with the Office of E-Learning, and it's hard to believe, but I'm with my last Geek Out for Digital Learning Day, and I'm really excited to bring to you the makers of Indiana. I have with me 3 schools from across the state, and actually 2 of them are from across the same town, sharing what's going on in their makerspaces. Of course, I have their leaders with them, but I also have their student makers here too, and we're very excited to welcome everybody into the Geek Out. So what is a Geek Out? A Geek Out, as you can see, is just a simple Google Hangout on air. But it's a place where we come together as enthusiastic educators to share what's happening around a topic related to digital citizenship. Well, I guess that too, but digital learning. And so today's topic is MakerSpace. And a lot of people think about MakerSpace as being a project or a program where you will do coding, or you might build robots or different types of projects, and that's the case, but it's not always the case. You can do a lot of things that are non-digital. The reason we brought MakerSpace into our digital learning celebration is because it's more about the type of learning that's involved, how you're engaging the learner. Because the mindset of being a constructivist, the idea that it's student inquiry and student-driven really lends itself to the type of learning that we want to see when we're talking about digital learning. And so I'm really excited to give our panelists a chance today to share a little bit about their different programs. So let's go ahead and start with Seymour Middle School. I'll have you guys introduce yourselves.
Are you starting with Noble Crossing? Sorry.
I will have Seymour start, but...
you go ahead. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Esther Baltazar, and I'm an 8th grader. I'm an 8th grader.
Hello, I'm Chacon Quayle, and I'm an 8th grader.
And I'm Cheyenne, and I'm an 8th grader.
Wonderful. And we see the hand of your advisor. You want to pop in there really quickly and say
Hi, I'm Mr. Mom. So, these are some of my great students. They're doing some really cool projects in our makerspace.
Thank you. I didn't mean to call you out like that, but glad to have you get a chance to say hi. Okay, now we will come over to Noble's Crossing.
My name is Olivia, and I'm in 2nd grade. My name is Ava, and I'm in 5th grade. My name is Blake, and I'm in kindergarten. My name is Hudson, and I'm in 3rd grade. My name is Kalani, and I'm in 4th grade.
And then I'm Mrs. Holman. Hi.
Hi, Mrs. Holman, and welcome back. So our 3rd advisor, Mrs. Patterson, is here with some of her students. And all of our advisors have been here before, as I mentioned, but the students are joining us for the first time. Do you guys want to say hi?
Hi. Hi. My name is Lainey, and I'm in 5th grade. My name is Ava. I'm in 4th grade.
My name's Kate, and I'm in 4th grade.
Excellent. So we have some upperclassmen in your building there, 4th and 5th graders. That's great. Well, I'm going to ask the first question that's really for the students. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to have Hinkle Creek students answer this first, okay? What is something that you made recently? And if you had to do it again, would you do anything differently?
If we made paper again, I would probably put in more like added things, like we did sparkles. So maybe bits of pieces of paper we like, or just different colors and mix it together and see what color we can come up with differently.
Oh, some experimenting. I like that.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. The question was, what is something that you made recently, and would you do anything differently?
A while back we did little bits, and I would include more of the kits, so that way people would get to do more of the special kits.
Well, I would make, we made paper airplanes, and I would have to make more precise wings, because mine didn't go out straight, so precise.
Well, but I like the way that you analyzed what you did, right? But even though you were seeing that you could do some things differently and improve on it, did you guys all have fun with your making?
Yeah.
That was an easy question, wasn't it? Great. Okay, so Noble Crossing. It's your turn to tell us something that you've made recently.
David, do you want to say? Sure. I'll see it nice and loud.
Okay, I have this electric snap circuit right here, and if I could do anything different, then I would try and make something that's not exactly easy.
You would challenge yourself. Interesting. Okay.
What's something that you've made?
One time I made a snap circuit, and it took a lot of time, and I finally got it to like the flying saucer. And what I would do differently is I would have tried to figure out how to make it faster, because now like, I will know how to
Thank you. Who wants to share their next?
What's something, Hudson, what have you made when you've come to the makerspaces, or you've done?
Well, I've started a snap circuit, but I didn't exactly finish it and make something do something, but next time I'm going to try to make something do something.
Either one of those snap circuits? You want to work with those again?
Olivia, do you want to say something?
I
What did you do the last time you were here?
Legos.
You did Legos?
Mm-hmm. I would probably make something different.
On the Lego table?
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody got a chance to
I
share.
would make something better than my other easy
Yeah.
one.
You know, some people call it being iterative, right? You do something and then you try it again to make it better. That's a really great way to be thinking as a learner. That even though you can do something, that you want to try it differently and see what you can do to improve on it. That's exciting. Okay, so one last thing that I thought you guys said that was really important. I can't remember your name, a fourth grader in the back. Third grader?
Hudson? Hudson?
But then you said something I thought was really good. You said, or interesting, you said that you didn't finish something. And I think that's okay, isn't it? When you're in a makerspace, do you always finish what you're doing? No. Not always. That's kind of neat to realize, you know, this isn't really working. I'm going to try something different now. So, or maybe you run out of time. Great, guys. Well, let's go over to our middle schoolers at Seymour. And I can't wait to hear some. They're like, oh, not our turn. You can do this, guys. What's something you've made lately, and what would you do differently if you would do something differently?
I am in the middle of making a Raspberry Pi Nintendo system. I will do this with the Hangout system. This and
Wow.
I would like something different when trying to make it a little bit easier.
I think some of the little ones are having a hard time hearing. So if you guys want to talk a little bit louder.
I'm making a boat right now. I'm still making it. I'm not finished yet. What I would do differently is maybe use different materials and make it a little bigger to see if it would float better or how much faster it could go or how differently it would work compared to the smaller size. That's what I would do differently.
That's interesting. So are you collecting data on that? Like, did you test it and like record stuff, or is it just kind of you're thinking that that's something you would want to do later?
Do in the future.
Very cool.
I've been working on Code Academy to learn basic HTML so that I can maybe eventually get into some JavaScript or something like that. Definitely, if I was going to do something different, I would have started earlier. That would have been great. I really enjoy it, so I would have started earlier, so I could have made more progress.
So maybe that's some advice for people that might not be involved on things yet. Is like, don't wait, right? You might regret it later.
Definitely.
Very, very good advice. Thanks. I see that you have someone new join you. Anybody else want to share what they've made recently and maybe how that went for them?
Sure. I'm Liberty, and I've been working on a soldering project to see how it works, to put different wirings and things together to
So are you using a plan for that or just experimenting on your own?
We have a couple of kids that we work on.
Okay. And I want to give everyone a chance to share.
Well, I've been also working on a putt-putt boat, so, but I haven't really got that much completed because I wasn't here most of the time. So.
Okay, so then we won't give you pressure, okay? You're off the hook. So let me start with the middle schooler since we're with you right now. How is the things that you do in your maker, because you guys meet before school and have maker time, how is that different than your schoolwork that you have when you're like going from class to class for math and history and that sort of thing? Do you see it as different kind of learning or is there some similarities?
I think that I enjoy MakerSpace learning a lot more than I enjoy learning at school because my MakerSpace advisor is a big advocate for hands-on learning, and he wants you to be able, he thinks, I totally agree that in order for you to learn, you have to be doing it. You have to be, like, you have to have your hands into the project for me to learn the way that I need to learn because I notice actual results. And I feel like people say with practice comes perfect. Well, I think with practice comes progression, and with progression comes perfection. And I can't progress without actually being able to touch the materials and put them together and work on them. And I just learn a lot better than when I'm sitting in the classroom and listening to a lecture or watching a video. So it's a lot nicer for me to be able to come in here and be creative and also do well academically.
That was a very powerful mindset that you shared. Thank you very much.
I didn't coach that at all. I'm over here shocked. I'm laying on the floor.
I thought of that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, let's.
Kind of what she said. You know, sitting in the classroom is not the same. You can put you get your hands in and work on projects, and then you have to sit in a classroom and listen to just gesture and talk, and then you have to just sit and watch videos. But with MakerSpace, you get to work on projects that you might enjoy a little bit more than just watching a video.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're bringing up some really great points, guys. Well, go ahead.
As well as we have a whole lot of fun working on these projects.
I think that's a really important piece. Hopefully you get to have fun in your other classes too, but I could definitely see that you guys would have fun working in your makerspace. I'm going to go over to Hinkle Creek because I think it's hard for our elementary guys, I know, to just be listening. And I want to hear from our older elementary students about what their favorite part of the makerspace is, or maybe they can answer the same question that the older kids answered about how it's same or different from their other classes. So Hinkle Creek, how are you guys?
Good.
Okay, so which question would you like to answer?
First one.
The first one about how it's like your class or different than your other classes?
Yeah.
Okay, take it away.
It's different from our other classes because when you're in a big group and there's like 20 or more people in your class, you don't get to experiment as much. It's more of other people doing work for you, but when you're in a smaller group, you get to do more work and you get to have more fun with it.
That's a really good point about the class size making a difference. Thank you.
Well, how I think it's different from my other classes is I actually get to do my own. Like, most of the times in classes, they'll have you doing one thing with multiple people. But when you're in Makerspace, you can do anything you really want to.
So it's more you get to direct your exploration?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, great.
Yeah, like in my class, like right now, it's like close to grading period. I have to finish, and with Mrs. Patterson and Makerspace, it's like failure is an option. We have our own experiment time, and we can take as much time as we like.
So, and it sounds like you get to set your own goals too, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you guys do that? Do you actually talk about the things you want to do in MakerSpace, or is it more kind of you just go in and explore and decide when you're there in the moment?
We get to pick really
Yeah,
a lot.
sometimes since we're maker assistants, Miss Patterson, she'll talk about what the other kids will be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then if no one needs help, we'll just look at the experiments and, well, basically take our learning in our own hands.
Yeah. That is very powerful. And I love that you guys you're maker leaders. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go over to Noble Crossing because I want to give those guys a chance to share with us what their favorite things are in their makerspace. Are you guys ready? I'm going to unmute.
Unmute. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, guys, what are your favorite things in the makerspaces? You just want to start, Olivia, and we'll go this way. Olivia, what's your favorite thing?
Puppets. Well, I don't really have a favorite thing because all of them are just really fun to do. Legos. My favorite snap circuit.
Okay, really loud.
But my favorite snap circuits. I like the iPad.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear yours. Oh, the iPads. Are there certain things that you can make on the iPad?
No. You can do things on an iPad and play certain games that you want.
Sounds interesting. Well, so you heard the older kids answer the question about how makerspace time is different than their class time. Is there anything that you guys want to think about or share with us about that idea? Are some things the same but some things are different?
I think it's better to be in the makerspace because you can just pretty much do whatever you want and you don't have very many with disabilities to do whatever you want to do. So.
Okay, so you choose things that you think will help you be stronger and make you feel good about what you're learning? Interesting. Okay.
I think that when you're doing makerspace, you're a lot more independent than if you're in a class. Because not a lot of times you're going to be doing something on your own in class. Like sometimes you'll do one assignment, but a lot of times it's an all-class thing.
Yeah, you know what? Are you sure you're not a middle schooler? That's a very grown-up answer. I think independence is a really good point. Thank you guys for thinking of some great ideas. And can classes be like makerspaces?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they can, can't they? So I'm going to ask another question. And some of you guys have kind of answered this. When you are making, when you're in the makerspace, do you like to work with people or on your own?
Well, it kind of depends on what the project is, but if we're doing the snap circuits, then you do it pretty much by yourself because you kind of just get to make up whatever you want to do. I kind of like doing things with other people because they're not really going to have the same idea as me. So sometimes we can do something that we didn't think about as by ourselves, but as the other we might do something different.
Good point. Again, good point. So I remember two people really liked things that I think about, the Lego table and the puppet station. When you're working with a group in those areas, how is that different than if you were by yourself doing something?
So how's the puppets different when you have more people?
It's sort of more fun when you have more people to play with.
More fun? Okay. You have to talk about what you're going to do and come up with a plan?
Yeah.
Sometimes, don't you? Okay, great. Well, let's go back over to Seymour, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question. When you're in your makerspace, and I know your group is kind of a smaller group at the middle school, do you guys work alone or do you ever collaborate together?
Both.
Both, okay. So how is it different when you're working with someone on a project, when you're collaborating?
There's more people working on it. You have more suggestions. to make and build projects.
And it can work a little bit, get done a little bit faster.
And it's kind of funny whenever you start out, when you're working by yourself, you know exactly what you want to do. But when you're working with somebody else, you can go in thinking, oh, I want to build a putt-putt boat, and then end up building something completely different. And I don't know, it's just nice to see the way that things change whenever you're working with other people.
I like that idea that you can have change, and that's not a bad thing, right? Could
No,
be
it's nice to have new ideas.
Nice.
cool. So how about for Mrs. Patterson's group? Do you guys, you're the leaders, you talked about how you're experts. Do you ever help other people work in groups together?
Well, kind of. When we have maker nights, when fourth or third graders come and we help them with projects that we give them, we kind of have to help them work with each other. It depends on what the activity is.
So do you have any favorite activities that are just for doing on your own or working together with other people?
Yeah, my favorite would probably be where you had to heat your house with a light bulb in a jar, and you could pick aluminum foil or sand to help you get it warmed up and see if you could rise the temperature.
Did you do that experiment?
Yeah.
And so
really,
I'm curious, what did you discover?
we discovered that sand and aluminum foil really does help the temperatures rise when you have lots of light shining on a shiny figure.
Interesting, very interesting. How about the others? Do you ever have a preference? Do you like to work alone or with other people?
Well, sometimes when you're working with other people, if you're stuck on something, or say, just like she said, when you are doing the house experiment, we had partners, and I think that really helped me because I was stuck a couple times. And then my partner helped me figure out how to do it another way, just like, and in the end, we actually rose the temperature almost up to 90 degrees.
My goodness, that would be a toasty house.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you did some good troubleshooting together then. Yeah. How about you, sir? Do you like to work alone, or do you enjoy working with other people on a project?
Well, I'm independent, but I do like to work in groups because, like, if I'm stuck, I have someone to fall back on and help me like get through that problem, and then we like fix the whole thing, and it's perfectly fine. And then that's like I'm either way, so.
So you see the value in group work, even though you personally enjoy doing things on your own too?
Yes.
How many, raise up hands, how many of you guys kind of feel the same way? You like working in groups, but you're okay doing things on your own? Lots of hands, okay. I think that's pretty normal. You guys are a pretty awesome group. So I'm going to ask your advisors a question now. If you could add, and the kids, I want you guys to listen very closely to what your advisors tell you, okay? Or what they share, because I'm going to ask you this question too. If you could add anything to your makerspace, what would it be? Let's start with Mrs. Patterson since we're with her group right now.
Right now, I'm very interested in getting hand tools into the kids' hands. So I would like saws and drills, and I need wood and I need supplies. So I'm kind of looking in that direction for after spring break.
I love your reaction. Okay, guys, I'm coming back to you in a little bit, okay? Miss Holman, I hadn't muted you guys. So go ahead and unmute and we'll give you. Sorry about that, just cutting on background noise.
You're fine.
Perfect. So, Miss Holman, this might be a shock to some of your kids. I don't know. So, you guys got to listen. What would you add to your makerspace if you could add anything you wanted?
What would I add?
Mm-hmm.
I would just keep adding different things all the time. So I would love to do the 3D printer, but I'm not sure I have enough time inside the library. And sorry, there's a class coming in, so we're in the makerspace, so it might get a little crazy in here. The management of the 3D printer, not sure we can handle that all day long. So I think my thing is short things that kids can do in a checkout time and just have fun and experience and play. So I just keep trying to change it up when I can.
So lots of rotation of ideas. Good, I like that. And you're right, your unique situation does dictate that you have to have certain types of projects. So good point. Okay, we're going to shift over to Seymour, and we're going to ask the advisor, what would you bring into the Makerspace? I got to see an announcement a minute ago. It was pretty powerful before we started. You want to share that? Or something?
One of the things we just got to add is we got to order a couple makey kits, so that it'll go into our April theme. For April is going to be more of a gaming theme, to be able to try to make some games using Scratch Junior or some of the other software. Or we got the Raspberry Pi coming together, so we can build our own controllers out of just about anything. So even a putt-putt boats, we'd be able to touch different putt-putt boats and do different things. So that'll definitely be fun.
Cool.
If I was going to add something,
yeah,
I really want a silk screen press.
Say that again.
I want to get a T-shirt press so that we could press our own T-shirts, one-off T-shirts. I think that would drive a lot of middle school students down here and get them into space. We do have a dress code, so everything that they wear has to say Seymour. So if they make it here, they'd be part of our dress code. So it'd drive a lot of students into the space.
That would be pretty neat. Okay, guys, now it's your turn. I saw your reaction earlier when he talked about what he was getting soon, and you guys got all excited. So what would you love to see brought into your Makerspace?
Oh, you got to get something.
Stuff?
I'd probably have to say a 3D printer maybe, because it'd be pretty cool to actually see what it can do.
For me, it would be a 3D pen, because a Doodle Pin, a Google Doodle Pin, because it would be interesting to be able to touch your drawing, and if you made like different textures with it, fill them, and it just becomes more personal to you, and it's better that way to experiment with things.
It does sound like it'd be fun to experiment with. Anybody else want to add to the shopping list?
I mean, kind of what she said, you know, seeing a Google Doodle Pin would be actually pretty cool to see your drawing in 3D and not just put it on a 3D printer where it's just an image. You can actually create it yourself and make it the way you want it instead of just a picture.
More robots.
Yeah, I see nodding heads. Very cool. I could see some of these things being really useful in your classes, too. I can imagine that Doodle Pin would be pretty fascinating in science class. Same with the robots. Very interesting. Good ideas, guys. Okay, we're going to go back to Miss Holman's group. I know that she had kids coming into the library, but maybe her crew is able to share.
We had to move locations, so repeat your question for us.
So Mrs. Holman told you guys what she would like to do to add to your Makerspace. What would, if you got to add something, what would you want to add to the Makerspace?
I think I would make like a coloring table. Like we used to have one, but then we had to get rid of it. But I think that would be really fun to have.
Cool. Kind of like the middle schoolers were talking about having a doodle pin. That sounds kind of like the same idea.
Yeah.
I kind of want to add something to do with like planting things, because like sometimes like growing things might be fun, but I think it would be like kind of hard, because if you grow something, someone else could just mess with your experiment with you.
That'd be something to consider, though, wouldn't it? You could problem solve how to make that work. Good idea. Anybody else have a suggestion? What would you want to see added to your Makerspace?
I would add everything.
You would add everything, he said.
You know, when I was your age, we loved, I see that cardboard box behind you. I would have loved to have a cardboard box and a roll of tape, because I could have created a whole city. You guys ever do that? filled with cardboard boxes. Ah, that brings back good memories. I see other people nodding their heads too, yeah. So anything can go into a makerspace. You can grow things, you can draw, so many great ideas. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Mrs. Patterson's group because they had some pretty funny expressions when they heard that their advisor was thinking of bringing in tools and wood and saws. So what would you add to your makerspace?
I would add clay, and we could build whatever we wanted out of clay. Like we could make like something that we'd like to invent someday, or just something that just pops into our head, and we can pretty much just express ourselves.
Right, so kind of like you could do prototypes, like you said, something you might invent later on. That's kind of exciting. How about you guys?
Sure.
Any thoughts?
That 3D printer does sound cool. Like, just make giant little like swirly towers. I know it sounds nuts, but that sounds awesome.
That's a 3D drawing.
Okay, whatever. Whatever. Yeah, I'll do that.
Well, what I would add to the makerspace is maybe some robotics. I know we have Vex, but maybe actually building stuff with more of a shape to it. I should have more of a shape, like maybe a car or that kind of stuff. With more of a fluid form than Vex.
You guys have some really good ideas. Okay, well, I think your advisors probably are thinking they got some planning to do. Well, and did anyone from Noblesville go to the showcase last night? You guys have your tech showcase last night? I think there might be somebody who has a 3D printer in Noblesville schools. It might be kind of neat to find out what they're doing. Maybe we can hang out with them sometime and learn more about what they're doing. So we are at that point where we ask people to share their questions with us, and we haven't got any questions that I see. That's why you saw me looking away. I was looking at my Twitter to see. I was listening to you, but I was also looking to see if anyone asked any questions. And so far, I don't see any. So I think I'm going to ask each group to share their last thoughts around a question I had for you. And that was if another school was going to start a makerspace. Let's pretend they don't have one right now. So we imagine a school is going to start their first makerspace. What is some advice? What are some tips that you would give them? Now, I'll start with you guys, the student experts in your makerspace, and then maybe Ms. Patterson might add an idea too. So what advice would you give someone who wanted to start up a makerspace?
Don't copy off of what other people do, or like someone you look up to. Like, don't copy off of another inventor. Make something that you want to do and what you think is cool. And if you don't think your opinion is very good, just try it and see what it can do.
I like that. So if I was to summarize it, I'd say think about what you're interested in. Don't worry about other people or what they've done. Think about what you want to try. Okay, other advice?
My advice would be that don't be afraid to get your hands in and just invent and do anything that you feel like you can do.
So don't be afraid, jump in there, get started. Good advice? Your turn?
Well, I would say just never give up. Always
persistence. Mm-hmm.
And failure is
yes.
Mrs. Patterson, you must be so proud. What would you add to the advice list?
That is great advice. I would say, first of all, to outfit your space, you can just ask people for supplies, your parents, community members for things they discard. First, the science department will go in there and see if they're not using anything and take it to your makerspace. And the second thing is sometimes give them challenges, not just free time, which do that, but then sometimes have challenges too.
So you can have structure, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. So yeah, terrific advice. Thank you. So glad you guys are here today. So let's go over to Noble Crossing and hear what their advice would be.
Your advice.
I would say don't just do the same thing every single time. Like try everything first, so you can get a good out of everything. I would say to try something new, but also try and find like something that everyone would enjoy, not just one thing.
Super.
Small, do not look to like the hardest thing.
Really loud.
Yeah, you can actually walk up there.
Like don't do really hard things if they're too hard.
You're good. What advice would you give somebody for a makerspace? Do not run. Dangerous. Don't run.
That's probably a good idea to be safe.
Yeah.
This one?
My advice was to never fall in love too much with anything. I think always be willing to change it up. I've had to advise a lot on what I think would work, and then I try it and it doesn't take off, or it's too hard, or the kids might get hurt. And so we always have to be able to revise and reflect and say yes or no. So that's one thing is just keep trying different stuff until something sticks.
Great advice. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to Seymour, and I may have muted you at some point because I was trying to get rid of some background noise. So there you go. Perfect. Students, you guys want to share a piece of advice at a school that would be starting up their own makerspace?
Sure. Just be original, creative, do what comes to your mind, and just go for it. Just do what you want to do.
I mean, even if you mess up your design or your blueprints, if your project doesn't work at all, it's not a complete loss. You didn't get what you wanted out of it. You didn't get it to work as you wanted it to, but you learned that that doesn't work. So you know next time when you do it, not to do those things. So, I mean, either way, you're going to be learning. It's going to be a positive experience. So.
Have you ever heard of the acronym FAIL, the first attempt in learning? It's kind of like a thing that teachers are starting to say now, but that's a really great way of looking at it. It's okay to fail if that's not where you stop, right? Because if the next step is to learn from that, no big deal. So you failed, right? You move on. You keep going. Good advice. Do you want to add something, ladies?
Just try different things. Because you might like something better than the old one. And if you wouldn't have tried a different thing, you would have probably never got to your favorite part of something. So that's what I would have to say about it.
I like that. That's really important, to be open to new ideas and new ways of trying or learning, right? New experiences. Okay, so we're back to our last member. Anything you want to add to the ideas that your teammates or your classmates have added? Okay, so time for your advisor. Is he still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I think starting a makerspace at a school is probably harder to find an area to do it if you don't have something on board than actually doing it, because it's a great excuse to always try one of them projects that you've always wanted to try and don't know how to do it, and get some other resources such as the kids to come in with the answers to the problems. So just do it. Just go for it.
Hey, I think that's what one of your kids just said that a little bit ago, didn't you? In the very back, you said just do it. I kind of had that little, not to promote Nike, but that kind of flashed across my mind. That just get in there and do it. So awesome. Well, I really appreciate middle schoolers, you guys being here today. You're great leaders and advocates for making anything possible. I love that you are taking your own time to make your makerspace a success in your school. You're such a great model for others across the state. Thank you so much for being a part of today. And to our Hinkle Creek participants, you guys rock. I did not know they were makerspace experts. I think that's fabulous, and I can't wait to see more of your sharing going on. So thank you for being here. And to our Noble Creek team, what a great example that anyone, anytime can be a maker. You guys have all done such a nice job, and I really appreciate everybody being here today. So have a happy rest of our listen to me, Digital Learning Day experience. And if you can talk to your advisors, I would encourage you to do a stop, drop, and tweet to tell everybody what you're doing in your makerspace and how that is a really cool thing and they should get started too. So I'm going to say goodbye to you now. We're going to go off air. Thanks, everybody.